The door to my tiny Seville apartment slammed open like a gunshot in the dead of night, splintering the silence I'd wrapped around myself like a threadbare blanket. Rain hammered the terracotta roof outside, but inside Alessia stood dripping, her chest heaving, eyes wild with a fury I'd only seen in old family photos of our abuela during her flamenco rages. "Alex," she gasped, my sister's name a curse on her lips. "She thinks she can just rewrite us? After everything?" I froze on the edge of my bed, sketchpad forgotten in my lap, the charcoal smudges on my fingers suddenly feeling like bloodstains. Alessandra, my big sister, the golden girl who dragged us both to Spain 2 years ago chasing some half-baked dream of European reinvention, had finally shattered the fragile peace we'd built here. But it wasn't her storming in. It was Alessia, her girlfriend of 3 years, the one with the laugh like summer thunder and hands that could mend a broken heart with a single touch. And in that moment, as lightning cracked the sky, I knew whatever came next would unravel us all. What she did wasn't a kiss or a betrayal in the Hollywood sense. No, it was worse. It was the kind of quiet unraveling that starts with a shared cigarette on a balcony at 3 a.m., her voice cracking as she whispered secrets Alessandra had buried deep, and ends with me seeing my sister not as the unbreakable force who'd saved me from our crumbling life back in Philly, but as a woman capable of the same quiet cruelties that had driven Dad to drink and Mom to silence. Alessia didn't touch me that night. She just looked at me, really looked, and said, "You're the only one who gets it, Alex. The only one who sees me." And God help me, I believed her. File 1 words 1000. The air in Seville that summer had been thick as paella broth, heavy with the scent of orange blossoms and unspoken resentments. Alessandra and I had arrived in March, fresh off a red-eye from Philadelphia, our suitcases stuffed with dreams and the kind of optimism only 20-somethings fleeing family wreckage can muster. She was 27 then, all sharp edges and sharper ambitions. A graphic designer who'd landed a freelance gig with a boutique ad agency in Madrid, but chose Seville for its soul. Whatever that meant. Me? I was 24. Fresh out of community college with a half-finished fine arts degree, and a portfolio of sketches that screamed, lost soul. Our parents' divorce had hit like a freight train the year before. Dad's affair with his secretary, Mom's spiral into pills, and Alessandra had swooped in like some caped crusader, booking the flights, subletting our row house, promising we'd rebuild in the land of sun and sangria. It worked for a while. We rented a crumbling 2-bedroom in Triana, the gypsy heart of the city, with a balcony overlooking the Guadalquivir River. Alessandra threw herself into work, her laptop glowing late into the nights, while I haunted the cafes, sketching flamenco dancers and street cats, trying to capture the chaos of a place that felt both ancient and alive. That's where she met Alessia, our neighbor, a 25-year-old expat from Barcelona who traded law school for a dance studio teaching salsa to tourists. Alessia was fire incarnate. Olive skin glowing under the sun, dark waves of hair that fell like a curtain when she laughed, and hazel eyes that could pin you in place. She knocked on our door one evening with a bottle of Rioja as a welcome gift, and by the end of the week she and Alessandra were inseparable. I loved them together at first. The way Alessandra softened around Alessia, her perpetual frown easing into smiles that reached her blue eyes like mine, but hers always carried the weight of being the responsible one. They'd dance in the living room to old vinyl records we'd scavenged from the flea market, Alessandra's awkward steps melting into grace under Alessia's patient hands. I'd watch from the kitchen stirring gazpacho, feeling like the third wheel in my own redemption arc. But there were cracks even then. Alessandra's jealousy flared at Alessia's late nights at the studio, her accusations laced with that old Philly edge. "You're always performing for someone else." Alessia would fire back in her lilting Catalan accent. "And you're always directing the show, mi amor. When do I get to improvise?" I played peacemaker, of course. That's what little sisters do, especially ones saved from the brink by the older one. "Come on, guys," I'd say, forcing a grin over my morning café con leche. "It's Seville. Life's too short for scripts." They'd laugh, pull me into a group hug, and for a moment we'd be the family we'd lost. But beneath it all I felt the pull toward Alessia, a quiet gravity I chalked up to envy. She saw me, you know? Not just as Alessandra's tag-along shadow, but as Alex, the girl who sketched the hidden alleys where the tourists never went, the one who whispered poetry to the river at dawn. The argument that changed everything brewed for weeks. It started small. A canceled dinner because Alessia had a private lesson run long. Alessandra's passive-aggressive texts piling up like storm clouds. By August it was thunder. I came home from a shift at the English bookstore, stacking dog-eared Hemingways for hungover expats, to find the apartment a war zone. Plates shattered on the tile floor, Alessandra's voice echoing from the bedroom like a wounded animal. You think I don't know? The way you light up around that guitarist from the bar? I'm not blind, Alessia. I hovered in the hallway, heart pounding, pretending to check my phone. Alessia's reply was a hiss. And what about you? Always buried in your screens chasing clients who'll never love you back? We're partners, not your fucking portfolio. The door flew open then, Alessia storming past me without a glance, her dance bag slung over her shoulder like armor. Alessandra followed, face flushed, grabbing her wrist. Don't you dare walk out. We talked this through. But Alessia yanked free, her eyes flashing. Talk? You mean lecture? I'm done performing for an audience of one. She was out the door before I could blink, the slam reverberating through the walls like a final curtain. Alessandra collapsed onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. I knelt beside her, rubbing her back the way she used to do for me after Dad's rages. Hey, it's okay. She'll cool off. You two are solid. But even as I said it, doubt gnawed at me. Solid like the bridges over the Guadalquivir? Or solid like the facades on the Alcazar? Beautiful but hiding centuries of secrets? She lifted her head, eyes red-rimmed. Am I losing her, Alex? Is this what reinvention looks like? Watching everything I love slip away. I hugged her tight, murmuring nonsense about tomorrow's tapas run. But inside, a treacherous spark ignited. What if Alessia didn't come back? What if, in her hurt, she turned to someone who listened without directing? Hours ticked by. The rain started at midnight, a rare Andalusian downpour that turned the streets to mirrors. I sketched by lamplight, swirling patterns of water and regret, until a knock shattered the quiet. Not the door, the balcony slider rattling like bones. I patted over, heart in my throat, and there she was. Alessia, soaked to the skin, her white tank top translucent against the freckles on her collarbone, hair plastered like a siren's crown. Alex, she said, voice raw. Can I? I nodded, stepping aside, the cool night air rushing in with her. She didn't sit, just paced the balcony, lighting a cigarette with trembling hands. I joined her, leaning on the wrought iron rail, the river below a black ribbon under the storm. We didn't speak at first. The rain drummed a rhythm, syncing with the distant strum of a guitar from some unseen bar. Finally she exhaled smoke, watching it curl into the wet night. Your sister. She wants me to be her masterpiece. But I'm not canvas, Alex. I'm alive. Messy. Free. I nodded, though words failed me. Alessia turned, her gaze locking on mine, and in the lamplight, her hazel eyes held galaxies. Pain, yes, but also a vulnerability that Alessandra's fire never touched. You get that, don't you? The need to move, to feel without someone boxing you in. My throat tightened. Yeah, more than you know. It was the truth. Back home, I'd been the invisible one, sketching in corners while Alessandra shone. Here Alessia saw the colors I hid. She stepped closer, the cigarette forgotten, ash scattering like confetti. She talks about you like you're fragile glass. But you're not. You're the one holding us together. Her hand brushed my arm. Innocent, seeking anchor, and electricity hummed through me, forbidden and fierce. We talked until the rain eased, her spilling stories of Barcelona childhoods and dreams deferred, me confessing the sketches I'd never shown Alessandra, the ones of us three tangled in impossible geometries. When she left, hugging me goodbye with a fierceness that lingered, I couldn't sleep. Not because of the storm, but because of the what-ifs blooming in my chest like night jasmine. Poisonous, intoxicating. The next morning, Alessandra woke with apologies on her lips, texting Alessia a dozen times. By noon they were back together. Makeup flamenco in the kitchen, laughter echoing like nothing had cracked. But I carried the night like a secret tattoo, hidden under skin. Alessia's gaze lingered on me across the breakfast table, a silent promise or warning, and I wondered, had she done it on purpose? Cracked open the door to my heart, just to see if I'd step through? Days blurred into weeks. The three of us fell into a rhythm again. Markets on Saturdays, siestas in the park, evenings at La Carboneria where Alessia danced and Alessandra sketched the crowd. But the undercurrent pulled stronger. I'd catch Alessia watching me during lessons, her instructions laced with double meanings. Loosen your hips, Alex, let go. Alessandra noticed nothing, lost in her deadlines, but I felt the fracture widening. One night, after a bottle too many of Manzanilla, Alessandra passed out early. Alessia and I ended up on the balcony again, the city humming below. Tell me something true, she said, her foot nudging mine under the table. I hesitated, then pulled out my sketchpad, flipping to a page I'd hidden. Her mid-twirl, Alessandra a shadow in the corner. Her breath caught. That's but not how she sees it. She traced the lines with her finger, close enough that I smelled her salt and citrus. Alex, what if? The door creaked. Alessandra, bleary-eyed. Everything okay? Alessia pulled back, smile snapping into place. Just girl talk. But as she slipped inside, her hand squeezed mine. A lifeline or a lure? I didn't know then that it was the beginning of the end, that the thing she'd done wasn't just sharing a smoke and a secret. It was planting a seed of doubt that would grow into a vine, choking the life from everything we'd built. And me? I watered it, night after night, unable to forget the warmth of her gaze in the rain. Fall crept into Seville like a thief, stealing the heat and leaving behind a crisp edge that sharpened every emotion. The leaves on the orange trees turned brittle, and so did we. Alessandra's freelance work exploded. A big campaign for a sherry brand meant late nights at the agency in Madrid, her absences stretching from days to weeks. It's temporary, she'd say, kissing Alessia's cheek before boarding the train. Think of the money, we could afford that trip to Granada. Alessia would nod, but her smiles grew thinner, her dances fiercer. I filled the gaps unwittingly at first. Mornings became our ritual. Alessia knocking for coffee before her studio opened, me brewing it strong with a splash of condensed milk, the two of us lingering over croissants from the bakery downstairs. You're a natural at this domestic bliss, she'd tease, her hazel eyes sparkling. I'd laugh it off. Blame the abuela genes. But each shared glance felt like stepping onto thin ice, beautiful until it cracked. One afternoon, after a particularly grueling class where I'd twisted my ankle attempting a spin, Alessia insisted on walking me home. The Triana streets were alive with market vendors hauling chestnuts and churros, the air sweet with roasting nuts. She looped her arm through mine for support, casual as sisters, but the contact sent sparks up my spine. You push too hard, Alex, she murmured, steadying me over a cobble. Like you're proving something. To who? I shot back, wincing. To her. To yourself. We paused under an archway, her face inches from mine, rain from an earlier shower dripping from the eaves. You're more than the backup dancer in this show. Her words hung there, heavy as the humidity. I wanted to pull away to remind her of the lines we'd drawn, but instead I leaned in. And you? Who's your audience, Alessia? She searched my face, thumb brushing a stray hair from my cheek, soft, unintended. Maybe it's time I danced for me. The moment stretched, electric, until a group of school kids barreled past, shattering it. We laughed, awkward, and continued home. But that touch lingered, a ghost on my skin. Alessandra returned from Madrid with gifts. A leather-bound journal for me, silk scarves for Alessia, and stories of tapas crawls that masked her exhaustion. That night we celebrated, paella at a riverside spot, the Guadalquivir reflecting fireworks from some distant festival. Wine flowed, loosening tongues. Alessandra raised her glass. To us, the unbreakable trio. Alessia clinked hers, but her eyes flicked to me, a shadow passing. Later, as Alessandra dozed on the couch post-dinner, Alessia and I cleared the table in silence. Her hand grazed mine over the dishes, deliberate this time, and she whispered, "Meet me tomorrow? The studio's closed. I want to show you something." My pulse raced. What? Trust me. She squeezed, then vanished to the balcony for a smoke. I lay awake that night. Alessandra's snores a counterpoint to the questions swarming my mind. What was this? Friendship's evolution or something sharper, more dangerous? By dawn, I'd convinced myself it was innocent. A dance lesson, a confidant's ear. But deep down I knew. The seed she planted was sprouting, vines twisting toward the light. The studio was a sunlit haven in Santa Cruz, all scuffed wood floors and wall-sized mirrors reflecting the Alcazar spires outside. Alessia waited in leggings and a loose tank, her hair in a messy bun, looking every bit the artist. "Close your eyes," she said, taking my hands. Music swelled slow, haunting flamenco guitar, and she guided me into steps, her body a shadow to mine. It was intimate, transformative. Her breath on my neck as she corrected my posture, her laughter when I stumbled, the way our rhythms synced like we'd rehearsed a lifetime. "See," she said, spinning me out. "You're a natural. No script needed." We collapsed against the mirrors, sweating, breathless. "Why me?" I asked, voice small. "Because you see the dance, not the performance." She sat up, serious. "Alessandra." She loves the idea of me, the fiery Catalan who sweeps her off her feet. "But you see the girl who cries during Alba de Cervantes' poems, who dreams of opening her own studio someday." I swallowed hard. "She loves you. Truly." "Does she?" Alessia's voice cracked. "Or does she love the version that fits her narrative?" She reached for my hand again, holding it between us. "Tell me I'm wrong, Alex." I couldn't. The truth was a blade. Alessandra had always curated her world. Friends, lovers, even me, like pieces in a mood board. And in that vulnerability, with sunlight slanting through the windows, Alessia leaned in. Not for a kiss but a forehead touch, sisterly yet charged. "You're my safe harbor," she whispered. We didn't speak of it after. Life resumed. Alessandra's promotions, Alessia's gigs, my sketches piling up. But the moments multiplied, stolen coffees, late-night texts about books, her Lorca to my Whitman, a shared umbrella during a squall where our shoulders brushed too long. I told myself it was harmless, a lifeline in the isolation of expat life. Until the night it wasn't. It was late October, All Saints' Eve, when the dead supposedly walked the earth. Alessandra had a deadline crunch, holing up in her room with takeout and her laptop. Alessia showed up unannounced, eyes puffy, a bottle of absinthe in hand. She canceled our plans. Again. Said work comes first. She slumped onto the couch, pouring shots with unsteady hands. I joined her, the green fairy's bite burning my throat. She's stressed. It'll pass. Will it? Alessia turned, fire in her gaze. Or is this the pattern? Build, break, rebuild. Until there's nothing left. The words echoed her from that rainy night months ago, but sharper now, aimed at the heart. We drank in silence, the absinthe unlocking tongues. She confessed the small betrayals. Alessandra deleting her contacts from her phone to focus, flirting with a colleague at a work party and laughing it off as networking. "I feel like a prop," Alessia said, tears spilling. In her story, I'm the exotic love interest. But what about mine? My own dam broke then. She saved me, from Philly, from falling apart. But sometimes, I wonder if I'm just her redemption project. The admission hung raw and real. Alessia's hand found mine, squeezing. "You're more. So much more." Time slowed. The room spun gently, absinthe haze blurring edges. She shifted closer, our knees touching, breaths mingling. "Alex, if things were different." The bedroom door creaked. Alessandra, disheveled, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Alessia? What?" Panic flashed. Alessia pulled back, standing too quickly. "Just needed a drink. Go back to bed." But Alessandra's gaze sharpened, flicking between us, the empty bottle, our flushed faces, the charged air. "Everything all right?" Her tone was even, but I heard the undercurrent, the director spotting an ad-lib. "Fine," Alessia said, forcing a smile. She kissed Alessandra's cheek, perfunctory, and left, the door clicking like a lock. Alessandra turned to me, brow furrowed. "What was that about?" "Girl stuff." I shrugged, heart hammering. But as she nodded and retreated, I saw the doubt seed in her eyes too. The vine spread, invisible but relentless. The fallout simmered. Alessandra grew distant, her questions veiled. "You two seem close lately." Alessia withdrew, her texts curt, dances mechanical. I buried myself in work, sketching feverishly, portraits of fractured faces, rivers dividing shores. But the memory of that almost moment haunted me. Her whisper, her touch, the what if that tasted like betrayal. Then came the high holy day of expat life. Dia de los Muertos weekend, when Seville blurred into a haze of marigolds and mock funerals. We planned a quiet night. Picnic in Maria Luisa Park. Lanterns to float on the lake for lost loves. But Alessandra arrived late from a client lunch, tipsy on vermouth, her arm linked with a colleague's, Elena, a sleek Madrid exec with a laugh like breaking glass. Alessia stiffened beside me on the blanket. Who's that? Work friend, Alessandra said, waving her off. But Elena lingered, toasting with us, her eyes on Alessia like a challenge. By the third round, she was sharing stories of Alessandra's wild Madrid nights. Anecdotes laced with innuendo that made Alessia's jaw clench. I tried to steer past the Jaman, but the damage was done. As Elena finally left, Alessia exploded in the cab home. A work friend? She was all over you. And you let her. Alessandra rolled her eyes. Jealous much? It's harmless flirting. Builds the brand. The brand. Alessia's voice rose, the driver glancing back. Is that what I am? Part of your portfolio. I shrank into the seat, invisible again. The fight spilled into the apartment. Accusations flying like confetti at a funeral. You're paranoid, Alessandra shouted. Always twisting everything. And you're blind, Alessia countered. To me, to us. She grabbed her bag, storming toward the door. Go then, Alessandra yelled. See if I care. The slam was deafening. Alessandra sank to the floor, sobbing. I held her, murmuring comforts, but my mind raced to Alessia. Alone in the rain again, the city's pulse mocking her pain. I shouldn't have gone. But an hour later I texted. You okay? Her reply, balcony. Please. She was there when I arrived at her door across the hall, drenched, shivering in a thin sweater. Alex, she said, pulling me inside without preamble. Her place mirrored ours but felt wilder. Shelves of poetry, dance posters curling at edges, a half-eaten olive bowl on the table. We didn't speak. She poured tea, hands shaking, and we sat on her worn rug, backs to the wall. I can't do this anymore, she whispered finally. The cycles. The doubts. Then don't. The words escaped before I could cage them. She looked at me, really looked, as she had that first stormy night. What are you saying? My heart thundered. That you're enough. As you are. I reached for her hand, tentative. She didn't pull away. Instead she leaned, our foreheads touching again. Breath sinking like a pas de deux. It wasn't a kiss, God no. It was deeper. A shared silence where truths flowed unspoken. Her fingers laced with mine and she said, remember that night after the fight? When I came to you. I wasn't just running from her. I was running to you. The admission cracked me open. Alessia, we can't. I know. Tears traced her cheeks. But I can't forget it either. The way you listen. The way you see. We sat like that until dawn, hands entwined, the rain a lullaby. When she walked me back, her hug lingered, a promise deferred. But as I slipped into bed beside a sleeping Alessandra, guilt coiled like smoke. What had we done? Not crossed a line perhaps, but towed it so close the blur was dangerous. The vine tightened its grip. November brought the Vendaval winds, whipping through the Guadalquivir like accusations unspoken. Leaves skittered across plazas, and tensions gathered force in our little world. Alessandra threw herself into a new project, a branding overhaul for a flamenco troupe, her days a blur of meetings and mood boards. She and Alessia entered a brittle truce. Surface affection like porcelain dolls posed just so. Dinners were polite, laughs manufactured. But the air crackled with what-ifs. I navigated the minefield, playing the dutiful sister by day, the secret solace by night. Alessia's text became my lifeline. Rough rehearsal. Need a walk? Leading to twilight strolls along the river, where we'd talk of everything and nothing. Her dreams of choreographing for the stage, my sketches of Seville's hidden saints, the way home felt both anchor and chain. Our hands brushed more often now, accidental on purpose. Each contact a spark against the dry tinder of restraint. One evening after Alessandra jetted to Barcelona for a pitch, Alessia invited me to her studio for a proper lesson. The space was empty, mirrors throwing back our reflections like alternate lives. She taught me a routine, a slow sensual rumba that spoke of longing without words. Feel it here, she said, hand on my waist, guiding the sway. Our bodies moved in sync, inches apart, the guitar's wail filling the silence. Sweat beaded on her brow as we paused, breaths ragged. You're a quick study, she murmured, eyes dark. Only because of the teacher. The air thickened. She stepped closer, our faces aligned in the mirror, hers fierce and alive, mine wide-eyed with wonder and fear. Alex. Her voice was a plea. I could have stepped back. Should have. But the vine pulled and I stayed. Her hand cupped my cheek, thumb tracing my jaw, tender, questioning. Time fractured. In that suspended breath I saw it all. The rainy night, the absinthe haze, the forehead touches building to this precipice. Then clarity shattered it. We can't, I whispered, pulling away. Not like this. She nodded, deflating. I know. It's not fair to her, to us. We sank to the floor, backs to the mirror, the reflection mocking our restraint. But pretending. It's killing me. Me too. Tears came then, hot and unbidden. We cried for the mess of it, the love tangled with loyalty, the betrayal born of neglect. What do we do? I asked. Alessia wiped her eyes. Tell her. All of it. The idea terrified me. Alessandra, my rock, my savior. Faced with the truth that her little sister and her love had danced too close to the flame? But Alessia was right. Secrets festered like unhealed wounds. We planned it for her return. A honest reckoning, no accusations, just raw hearts laid bare. But fate, that cruel choreographer, had other steps. Alessandra came home early, bursting through the door at midnight with a bottle of cava and a grin. Nailed the pitch. We're celebrating. Where's Alessia? I froze in the kitchen, phone in hand, mid-text. Studio late. Should be soon. She poured glasses, chattering about the win, but her eyes scanned me, probing. You okay? You seem off. Fine. Just tired. The lie tasted bitter. The door opened then, Alessia, flushed from practice, her bag slung low. Heard the news, brava. She hugged Alessandra, the embrace tight but eyes flicking to me, laden. We toasted, the cava fizzing like false effervescence. But midway through, Alessandra's phone buzzed, a work email or so she claimed, pulling her to the balcony. Alessia and I exchanged glances, the air taut. After this, Alessia mouthed. I nodded, resolve hardening. But Alessandra returned changed, face stormy. Elena's in town. Wants to meet for drinks tomorrow, team building. She said it casually, but Alessia's fork clattered. Again? With her. Alessandra sighed, exasperated. It's business, babe. Loosen up. The dam broke. Loosen up? While you flirt and I wait. Alessia's voice rose, chairs scraping as she stood. I'm not your side character. You're being ridiculous. Alessandra shot back on her feet now. This jealousy, it's toxic. Toxic? Look at us. You're married to your work, and I'm the fool holding the fort. Alessia's eyes blazed, tears unshed. Tell her, Alex. Tell her how you really feel about all this. The room iced. Alessandra turned to me, slow as a guillotine. What? My mouth went dry. Alessia's phone chimed. A text from me, unread but damning in timing. She glanced, paling. No, wait. But Alessandra snatched it, scrolling. Her face drained of color. Can't stop thinking about today. The dance. Innocent in context, devastating out. You. What? Alessandra's voice was a whisper blade. The two of you? It wasn't. Alessia started, but Alessandra's laugh cut her, hollow, broken. Oh God. All those walks. The late nights. My sister? While I'm killing myself for us. She backed away, eyes darting between us like we'd morphed into strangers. Alessandra, please, I begged, standing. Nothing happened. We talked. That's all. Talked. She spat the word. Like you talked that night after our first fight? When she came running to you. Her gaze hardened on Alessia. You played me. Both of you. No. Alessia reached for her, but Alessandra flinched. Get out. Both of you. The command was steel. Alessia hesitated, then grabbed her coat, fleeing into the night. I followed, but Alessandra blocked the door. Stay. We end this now. The confrontation was apocalypse. She paced, voice rising in waves. The hurts I'd buried, the resentments festering. I brought you here to save you, Alex. From Dad, from Mom's ghost. And this is how you repay me. Stealing my heart. I didn't steal. Tears streamed. You pushed her away. The jealousy, the control. Control. She laughed bitterly. I was building a life. For all of us. We hurled truths like grenades. Her overprotectiveness smothering me. My unspoken envy of her shine. The way love had twisted into competition. By the end we collapsed, spent sisters again but scarred. Alessia waited outside. Rain slicked under the street lamp. Our dramatic tableau from months ago reversed. I'm sorry, she said as I emerged. I never meant. I know. We stood there, the three of us, a fractured triptych, wind whipping our words away. The unraveling was swift. Alessandra moved to a sublet across town, her things packed in silence. Alessia and I tried space. A week of radio silence, but the pull was magnetic. We met in neutral ground. A quiet cafe in the Barrio Santa Cruz, where shadows hid our whispers. I love her, Alessia confessed over herbal tea. But not like before. The trust. It's Ash. And me. The question trembled. She smiled sadly, taking my hand across the table. You're the unexpected grace. But we rushed the steps. We decided time. Alessandra needed healing, we needed clarity. No dramatic exits, just honest pauses. I sketched them both, separate portraits merging at edges, a testament to the mess we'd made. Winter softened into spring. Alessandra and I rebuilt, slowly, weekly coffees, her apologies laced with vulnerability. I was scared of losing you both. She dated Elena briefly, a rebound that fizzled into friendship, teaching her the line between flirt and fidelity. Alessia opened her studio, a small triumph, and invited us to the inaugural show. We went, the three of us, tentative in the audience, watching her dance a piece called Fractured Duet. Two women circling, touching, parting, reuniting in harmony. Tears blurred my vision. Alessandra squeezed my hand. After over post-show sangria, Alessia raised her glass. To reinvention. The real kind. We clinked, the sound like mending glass. No tidy bows. Alessandra and Alessia remained friends. Orbits overlapping but not entwining. Me? I found my own rhythm. Exhibiting sketches at a local gallery. The proceeds funding a solo trip to Granada. What Alessia did that rainy night wasn't seduction. It was a mirror, reflecting the fractures we'd ignored. In the betrayal's wake we learned grace. To love without possession, to see without scripting. Seville taught us that. Its rivers flowing undivided. Its flamenco born of pain turned poetry. And in the quiet moments, sketching by the Guadalquivir, I don't forget. How could I? It was the storm that cleared the way for sun.